we're gonna start with the CRC. Open full board meeting. It's on your cheat sheet. Want to follow right along. First thing we're going to do is the slate of directors. And if you flip over on your first page, you'll see your slate of directors who selfishly volunteered to run again this year. Carmine Thurl, Chairman, Sarah Sterling, Vice Chairman, Robert Galuccio, Treasurer, and Nina Finger Smith, Secretary. So, without further ado, first thing we got to do, we're going to vote. I need a motion and a second.
I move.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Next, we have, and everything is right in order, and we have to thank Lisa. So if you want to follow along, it's right in the packet. Next, we have the annual housekeeping resolution. If anybody wants to make any changes? If not, I need a motion in a second. I'm sorry, this has got to be a roll call vote.
Let me call the roll for it. Nina Finger Smith, absent. Robert Galuccio,
Yes.
Bill Gerlach.
Here.
Brian Keeler,
Yes.
Carmen Fura,
Yes.
Sarah Sterling,
Yes.
Rick Rector.
Yes.
You have four.
Approved. Next, we have the full board minutes from 12/6.
Kathy, you need to actually, have the roll call. Then you need to take a vote.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Second, and approved. Full board minutes from 12/6/22. There's no changes.
Motion to approve.
Approved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the annual reports. And the first is the 2022 operations and accomplishments. I would need a motion and a second. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
2022 performance measures report is in here. And I would need a motion and a
So
second.
moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next thing, moving right on, we have the 2023 mission and measurements goal motion, which is the same as the 2022. I would need the motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And next is 2022 discharge duties. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And next, we have the full board evaluation is on there. If there's no discussion, I would need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now what we have to do is we're going to open the full board meeting and we have to go over the committee meetings.
You're gonna pause.
Got to pause the full board. Yes, yes.
I'll make a motion to pause the meeting.
And a second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, the first thing we have is the open committee, okay? And these should be right in order if you find your agenda on the open committee. And first thing on that one is the minutes from December 6th, 2022. There's no changes, need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have the audit committee charter. And with no changes, I would need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Next is the 2022 committee evaluation discussion. If there's no discussion, I should say. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
What's that?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is 2022 discharge duties. There's no change.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any public comment at this time?
I just make one comment about all these charters, because we've been going over the
Yep.
charters for CDC, and there's no, because we're so small here, we're just putting everybody on all the committees. And in CDC, we have a procedure for choosing a chair and all of that, and I think we're just assuming here that we go in the same, your chair of all the committees.
Right.
But there's nothing written, and I'm okay with that, but just wanted to comment that I can't foresee a future where we're gonna have bigger.
Works for me.
bigger.
Chair one, chair two. It says 7 committees. I'll be the chair.
Unfortunately, for CRC, as you all know, haven't done any, not doing much business. Anybody. So, but that's okay right now. All right, so what we need is a motion and a second to adjourn the audit committee.
So
meeting.
moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, next, we're gonna open the Finance Committee. Gonna call the Finance Committee to order, and we're gonna need a motion and I'm sorry. We need first one is the minutes from August 2nd, 2022. There's no changes, we need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is the treasurer's report.
As you can see, we're in need of requesting the grant from CEDC. We are, when you look at our income and expenses for the year, we had approximately $4,200 in expenses. So we're going to transfer $5,000 from CEDC as a grant to CEDC. We did update the letter, and I have 5 or 6 prospects that we're going to send the letter to, reintroducing them to what CEDC does. That includes the hospital, Shaker Museum is doing a large project, and in Chatham. The Galvin Corporation is doing a large project at the community theater. They want to do where the old tennis club. We've picked out a handful of not-for-profits that appear to be prospective business entities that would do capital improvement projects. And what the CEDC provides them with the opportunity is to do tax exempt bonds through, and we've done them for the hospital in the past. But again, in this economy, I'm not sure how many people are undertaking a project. Because interest, even tax exempt rates are no longer 0.05%.
Okay. We're gonna need a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next, you have the Finance Committee Charter. Is there any questions? No questions. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 2022 discharge duties. If there's no questions, we will need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 2022 committee evaluation questions. Any changes? If not, we need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Pass. 2022 investment report. Is any questions or changes? If not, need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Any public comment at this time? No public comment. We're going to need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. And moving on, we got the Open Governance Committee. We're going to call the meeting to order. First thing we got are the minutes from March 14th, 2022. There's no changes. I need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have the Governance Committee charter changes. Need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 2023 compliance calendar. Need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. 2022 committee evaluations. They're on there. We need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. 2022 discharge duties. Motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comments at this time? If none, I would need a motion and a second to adjourn the governance committee.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So now we're gonna go back, we're gonna reopen the full board. CRC full board. So we're gonna need a motion and a second to reopen the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now what we've got now is below it, we've got the consent agenda, but we've already voted on all these. So what we're gonna do is we need a motion and a second, which we've already voted on them, and that'll approve them all. That's everything we just voted on. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have administrative director's report.
As I mentioned,
Yeah.
we're continuing to keep this organization going with a grant from CEDC, and we're continuing to explore and educate not-for-profits about the opportunity that the entity provides.
Okay, any questions or other business? No, any public comments? No public comments. We would need a motion and a second to adjourn the CRC.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Flip over, we got the IDA. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna open the full board meeting for the IDA. And the first thing we're gonna do is we have to vote on the slate of directors. And it is the same as we just voted on for CRC. And what I would need is a motion and a second to approve.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your voting. All right. Next, we have the annual housekeeping resolution. If there's no changes, I would need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. We have the draft minutes of 12/6/22. Changes, we need a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the annual reports. And first one is the 2022 performance measures report. We need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If there's any questions, or anything, just stop.
Mhm.
We'll try to answer them for you, okay? Next, we have the 2022 operations and accomplishments. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the 2023 mission statement and measurement goals, which would be the same as 2022. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
2022 discharge duties. Need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the 2022 full board evaluation,
motion,
motion and the second to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna have to pause the meeting, doing our committees. We're gonna need a motion and a second to pause the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So what we're going right into next is the open audit committee meeting. And the first thing up would be the minutes from December 6th, 2022. There's no changes. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. The audit committee charter. If there's no changes, we need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
2022 discharge duties. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
2022 audit committee evaluation. It's on the back. I think it's the last, next to this page.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Any questions from the public? There's no,
public.
I don't know if there's anybody on. but, If not, we need a motion and a second
So
to
moved.
adjourn. My second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the Open Finance Committee meeting. And the first thing up are the minutes from August 2nd, 2022. There's no changes. We would need a motion and a second.
A motion,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report. As you can see, we're waiting for the next project to fill the coffers of the organization. We are optimistic with respect to the Redburn project in Greenport. They have reached a agreement with the assessor, and they're now in the situation of working out their planning board approvals. They've decided to build the project in 3 phases rather than 150 units all at once. Redburn has an excellent regional reputation, and they're at a size where they're going to keep ongoing development activities. We have not had any other projects specifically request an application, but there are several other potential projects out there that would qualify and benefit from IDA financing. Our expense for last year totaled $37,800. 23,000 of that was for contract with CEDC. The accounting and legal fees were approximately 11,600. And our insurance was 570. I think that when you look at the expense of maintaining the IDA over time, it is a benefit to attract and retain businesses, and it's also an opportunity to continue to grow the tax base and create jobs. I think that if we're able to continue to promote projects at the county level for the to be able to pay these expenses. I mean, it's $40,000 is a lot of money to run an organization when you had no projects. I understand that, but I do think that over time with additional potential housing projects that we believe will come out of the CEDC housing coordination effort for the Board of Supervisors, and several potential small manufacturing projects that I think we recommend that we continue moving forward and certainly retaining the IDA. And as part of, we do have, we think it's worthwhile to do that, and we hope that you'll retain CEDC to do the administrative work. Any questions on the financials?
What's the cost of Hudson's IDA expenses roughly?
Well, the Hudson IDA has a similar cost structure. Obviously, the audit, the legal costs, the insurance, they have a little higher legal costs because they have, although when you have a transaction, the developer pays the legal costs. And they had a higher consultant cost because they brought in a professor from Albany Law School to help them design the criteria for evaluating future projects. I think that CEDC's contract with the city IDA is different. We receive a base fee, and then we receive 10% of a project fee up to $10,000. And that was derived at the time that there was $10,000 in the city IDA account. And those of you who have been on the board for some time will remember that when the Wick Hotel in the city was financed, they came to the county IDA because the city IDA had not done a deal in over 10 years at that time.
You know, you saved the city's IDA.
Well, thank you, Mayor. You got my text tonight?
I knew what I was going.
But so, you know, what we did is we split the fee with them in return for them providing us the terms of a pilot so that there wasn't criticism that the county was giving away city tax dollars. And then they've been they use those funds to pay CEDC. And now that for the 4 years before they had any projects. So it's a little different model, but you know, last year, you know, their administrative fees were almost $30,000.
Are those criteria something we could use here or we could discuss at some time?
Well, we do have a version of that because you know, there is a to the extent that you do more than $15 million in projects, we get a kicker. And it's basically driven by the extra work that comes from closing the deal. Now, you know, we have, and we, besides, you know, these meetings, we have spent considerable time with Redburn on their project and with others, but, you know, you certainly can review the fee structure at any time.
Wasn't it also like they wanted to make sure that the project benefited Hudson? I'm talking about Hudson's criteria.
Oh, those criteria?
Yeah.
Well, Jessica, who's not in today because she has a cold, didn't want to get us all sick. She was going to present to us those criteria
Okay.
to give you an idea of what they include. Basically, they want the developer to go over and above what they would otherwise do to get the standard pilot, and if they do even more, they can get a 15-year pilot. And if they just say, well, we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and you get a 5-year pilot. Some of the criteria that Hudson was looking for was specific job creation, specific percentage of materials being bought in the county. You know, some of these things are not really measurable, but some of the things at a certain level, putting money in a trust fund for workforce education training. But I do think it's certainly worth looking at. Considerable time and effort was put into it to do it, and we'll schedule a presentation on that at the next county IDA meeting. and we'll circulate to you the matrix chart that shows how you get points. So you would, and you get various points for agreeing to perform some of the things that the city wanted to see in their developer proposal.
Thanks, that'd be interesting to see that.
So as part of the finance committee report is the review and approval of CEDC's annual contract. The contract that we're seeking to have approved, the only thing that was changed in it were the dates. It is a $2,000 a month administrative fee. And the benefit of that to you now is if we do close the Redburn project, our work on that project is included in that fee. We don't get a $10,000 kicker. If you want to look in the future, pay as you go, if you will, where you get a base fee, and then when we close deals, we get a kicker. You certainly can do that. Obviously, we've budgeted this year for continuing that model. So I would guess that if we went back over 5 years, and you know, we could show how many projects we would have had to do to get an equal fee structure to what the city IDA is.
Is planning the only thing in front of Redburn right now?
Well, I think they, you know, those interest rates, I think lumber costs are down significantly. So they are redesigning it, and but we did, they were able to solve the concerns that had been raised by the assessor, which was the most.
It's so important, I think, that project.
So I guess, you know, if you want to have some discussion on the current fee structure for this year, or otherwise I would ask that the board consider, or the committee consider recommending its approval to the full board.
So moved.
Is it in here? Do we have that?
It's in the full board.
Yes,
package.
I,
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't make a copy for every, we killed enough trees today. We took stock in, what's it?
Well, I want to compliment Lisa again.
International
I
paper.
don't know if Riley helped too, but this
now this is,
amazing document to keep all of this together clear.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll vote on that when we come out of this, wow, correct?
Mhm.
Sure. Now you can do it now.
Okay.
Okay, Andy, give us the,
Full board too,
Yeah, you should,
just to make it clean.
yeah, I would
wait,
wait till you get to that portion.
that's separate from what we have. to do.
Yeah, because that's really where it's gonna come from.
Okay, so we'll catch that up at the end. So what we need is a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Next, we got the finance committee charter. No changes. Need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 2022 discharge duties. We need a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor? Or make the motion, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, okay. 2022 Finance Committee evaluation. Need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the 2022 investment report. Any motion and a second to approve?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And if there's no questions from the public comment, we need a motion and a second to adjourn the finance.
So
Committee.
moved.
All those in favor? Next, what we have is the Governments Committee. First thing is the minutes from March 14th, 2022. We need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We have the Governments Committee Charter motion. Need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 2023 compliance calendar. Need the motion and a second to approve.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 2022 discharge of duties. Need the motion and
So
a
moved.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's approved. 2022 committee evaluation motion. We would need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Any questions, public comment? If not, I need a motion and a second to adjourn the governance committee.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is I need a motion and a second. We're gonna reopen the full board for IDA.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And as we did before, we've already accepted the audit committee, the finance committee, the governance committee. So what we're gonna do is we need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So what we're gonna do next is we have the administrative director's report. This is, we'll get into, we've got a couple items to cover that are not. Well, you're gonna bring it up like the CECD contract?
Right.
Okay.
We have the CEDC contract. Clock Estates is continuing to move forward with completing their project. We are working with the Office of Community Renewal on their $300,000 grant that they received. They get 15, they're eligible for $15,000 per job. Because of the delay in the project, because of COVID, they have not certainly been able to draw down all of that money, but as they go into the spring and become fully operational in the summer, they anticipate that they will be able to achieve that. And you did speak about 178 Keely, which is the Redburn project in Greenport, and also the CEDC contract. So there's really, those are the items to report. I did want to introduce to you Chris Brown, who's joined CEDC as our housing coordinator. Chris is here today. As you may be aware, the county Board of Supervisors has entered into a contract with CEDC for 3 years for $225,000 to coordinate all matters relating to affordable housing in the county. Chairman Morrell appointed a 12-person task force, as well as 10 individuals who are serving as resource advisors. The resource advisors are primarily people whose day job it is to support housing. The head, a representative from the Columbia Board of Realtors, Habitat for Humanity, Hudson Catskill Housing Coalition, the executive director of the New York State Rural Housing Coalition. And the theory was that by having an advisory group of professionals to guide the discussions, that the members of the task force itself would be community leaders throughout the county. So we had our first meeting 10 days ago, and 2 weeks tomorrow, and it went very well. And I don't know, Chris, to put you on the spot, if you have a brief overview of where you think the task force is going to go, because I do think it'll generate some IDA projects.
I think so, yeah, so we're still in the organizing stage. So we've just got our last committee member for what we're calling the organizing committee, which will develop the objectives and goals of the task force. Also figure out what kind of subcommittees we're going to have. But I think the idea is it's really kind of parallel to what Jessica does as an economic development coordinator. It's to match up opportunities with partners. We're kind of taking an approach of short-term goals and long-term goals. So some of the short-term goals will be very project specific. And the long-term goals are going to be trying to influence the context in which housing gets built in Columbia County. Right now, it's a lot of work reviewing Governor Hochul's housing compact and how that might impact the local communities. But it's been a lot of work to accomplish in the first 2 weeks. And our next full meeting will be tentatively scheduled for the last Wednesday of next month.
I also want to introduce Steve Vandenberg. He joined us around a little bit, 2 weeks before Chris. Steve is working with Martha Lane in our small business loan fund. And in the last 8 years, the CEDC loan fund has paid more than $4 million in loans. And we've provided over technical assistance to over 350 businesses. And, we brought in almost $400,000 in interest during that period. And we only had about $125,000 over those 8 years of write-offs. And, so when you average out the annual write-off over time, it's any bank would love to have that profile. So Lauren Crana had been working with Martha on that, and she is now has a virtual job from home, and so we needed to find someone to work with Martha on the plan. And Steve joined us in early December.
Early January.
Early January. So Steve, if you'd just like to introduce yourself, give you the 2-minute.
The 2-minute spiel.
2-minute
No-
spiel.
no PowerPoint needed. I'm Steve Annenberg. I resident here in Columbia County since the early 90s. My bride is from Stuyvesant Falls. She and I went to the University of Albany. Had a 30-year career with Barnes and Noble, followed by an early retirement package, and then 18 months with healthcare consortium. Looking to continue serving those in the community. Excited to be part.
So we can't have any more staff because we don't have any more desks. So I think you've all met Riley Warner, who joined us in late October. And thank God, because now we have not only her assistance every day, but technical assistance at these meetings.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we have to, I don't believe it's on the agenda. We got the IDA CEDC contract, which we're gonna have to vote on. Or is that on the back of the? It's on the back of the full board agenda, so. The Mike, that's the same one we've had. This one.
No changes. The only changes were the dates. Sorry, I marked it to show.
Yeah, it's on-
And if you look on,
Yeah, the small print, I saw it.
if you look on page 2, is the contract, and it's for $24,000 paid on a quarterly basis. In addition, if there are agency projects that result in the receipt by the agency of a payment or payments for a project greater than $100,000, we would get a kicker. And I do think what we should do is have put it on an agenda for next September or October to review the contract in advance, so that if you want to look at more of a pay-as-you-go model, that we could make an adjustment to the fee structure.
Okay,
I move we approve.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passed. We've got one other situation, and what we want to do is we're gonna do a motion, and we'll explain. Right now, the only people that are authorized to sign checks are Sarah and myself for IDA. And they're having a problem because everything is electronic, so nobody can pull the bank statements off. All right, so what we want to do is give Mike authorization to go to the key bank and be able to sign checks. This way, the office can get online with our and pull any information electronically that they need.
And I've committed that as part of that resolution, that your authorization would be limited to that purpose, and we would continue the process that we have now, where to the extent there is a check for disbursement of funds from the IDA, I sign an approval from an administrative standpoint, and then either Sarah or Kathy actually sign the check. And we would continue that. I think it's important. I understood the reason initially why the board only wanted board members to sign the checks, and we're going to continue that. But we did put in place a process that they will only sign a check if I've approved it, so that we don't have, we don't lose administrative control of the operation.
They're having trouble pulling reports off. They cannot get on the electronic part of it, okay? So Mike's just gonna get authorization to be able to go online and pull off reports, not physically sign it.
We'll get that in writing.
Pardon me? Yeah, that will be part of the resolution.
Should possibly like Robert be on that account also, would you, as the treasurer, just in case there's something happening that you left
Yeah, I could do that.
the agency or something like that, Robert being the treasurer, I think it
You
would
may
be
be
good to
on it.
have.
We have to look.
Yeah,
You may already be on it, but if you're not, we will we'll.
yeah, I think that would be a good
Because
thing to do.
as you know, they're gonna make us re-sign the whole packet. There's some,
Yeah.
add someone.
And the auditors are all right with?
I think, the issue was, at CEDC, I signed checks up to $5,000 on my own. I'm not looking for that authority here, because I do think that this is, CEDC, although it is a local development corporation, and it's statutorily created, because it falls under that statute. IDAs are specifically created by the state legislature, and not that you have a higher duty, but it's a different model that I certainly understood early on why the board wanted to have a member of the board actually effectuate the authorization of funds. But I didn't want a situation where a board member could come in and request a check, and I didn't know about it from a management standpoint, or have Kat as a bookkeeper process checking that, because if I'm responsible for managing the budget, I wanted to be sure that I at least approve payments.
You call the bank, they won't answer your questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, one time I had to come in, and Kat and I go downstairs, and
Yeah.
they didn't even look at me hardly. It's
No.
like,
Yeah.
okay, so that kind of thing is, Mike's here, it's just easier.
Yeah, sure.
And that way, we can pull the statements. If you needed to transfer money between accounts, which is what you did, you didn't have to come and sign a check, and pretty soon there won't be any checks. So,
I like to make a motion for you to be able to do that, Mike.
thank you.
I second it.
And Bob.
We'll all go to lunch next week.
So we got the motion on the floor. All those in favor? So moved.
Thank you very much. That'll make Kat's life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Kathy, just backing up to the contract with CEDC, I just happened to notice on bullet number 1, I think we need to update maybe Lisa, the dates on that. On the second page, it still says 20 to 21 or 20
Okay,
to 20, you know what I mean?
we'll get that.
That's where we just need to update that.
Thank you. We're gonna sue Microsoft. So we use the replace feature, but
Good catch.
Yeah.
Oh, any other questions? Any board members? No, any public comments at this time? No public comments. We need a motion and a second to adjourn.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Well done.
Randy, thank Lisa.